All right, what's going on, Eagles fans? Just wanted to get this video out here because that was the worst loss I've ever experienced in my life. First of all, 30 years old, came out the womb bleeding green. I didn't choose this life. This life chose me. So the thing about, growing up an Eagles fan in the era that I did, this pain's not new. We're used to this. Obviously, in my early childhood, early 90s, don't really remember much from what I can remember and understand. The teams were pretty bad in the early 90s. 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. I'm really getting into football. I'm really starting to love football. Tragic L. Tragic L. Tragic L. Tragic L. 01, lost in the NFC Championship game. 02, lost in the NFC Championship game. 03, lost in the NFC Championship game. 04, lost in the Super Bowl. I'm used to this. Used to taking tragic L's. The base of my Eagles fandom is taking tragic L's. This one hurts worse than all of them. This one hurts the worst. So obviously the game ends and kind of instant fan reaction. You kind of want to start to reach and grab for some excuses. Oh, what the hell happened? They cheated us. Bad penalty call, all this bullshit. I mean, it kind of, Giants and San Fran fans kind of make sense at this point. When you take a bad loss, you want to make excuses. So I'm pretty sure every Eagles fan's initial reaction was that was a horrible holding call on James Bradberry at the end there, pretty much ended the game. I never pay attention to officiating. Officiating, in my opinion, has never influenced the outcome of or been the number one determining factor of any game that I've ever seen. Officiating is a hard job. Bradberry held him, and they threw the flag. Wish he didn't throw the flag. They didn't throw that flag all game, but that's not the reason we lost. And then, this is so hard because I knew, so the 2 weeks leading up to this game, I actually went back and rewatched that October 9th game that we played against Arizona. And the field conditions were terrible in that game. And I don't know, it was probably a week before. I don't know, it was probably, the week that there was no game, a week before the game. And I called my brother and I'm like, yo, I just watched the Arizona game. Like, the footing out there sucked. It was terrible. Do you think the field conditions are going to be that bad for the Super Bowl? Like, I really don't think the NFL, I'm really thinking the NFL is going to step in and do something about this, Arizona grass, and they're not going to, make us play a Super Bowl on an ice skating rink. And I saw a meme or something on Twitter, and it said, they've been preparing this field for 3 years. They spent $800,000 on this field, and I thought, okay, we'll see how it is. And from the first snap, I knew it. I'm like, damn, this field sucks. That was the excuse that I built up, on myself for probably these past, 32 to 48 hours. It was really hard for me to get over, those field conditions. End of the day, long story short, you can't grow grass in Arizona. I don't care if it's a sod farm, how much money you spend on it. When I saw that meme, put $800,000 into this field, it's sod from a local sod farm, I said, I don't care if it's a local sod, any local sod farm in Arizona, it's still gonna be shit grass. You can't grow grass in Arizona. Like that's it. So now, I know a lot of people are, a lot of people say, well, the Chiefs had to play on it too, and that is true. It is equal field conditions, but I mean, like coming into this game, if you said like, if you had to put one X factor into this game and say this part of the game is not going to be a factor in the game, the Kansas City Chiefs would choose pass rush every time. It's really hard to beat Patrick Mahomes. It's really hard to beat Patrick Mahomes when you can't rush the passer. I mean, he's very good. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, I still consider Tom Brady the GOAT. But that is more just as a nickname. He's the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time. But Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback I've ever seen play in my life. And how do you stop a guy like Patrick Mahomes? You get Javon Hargrave right up in his face, and you got Hassan Reddick and Sweaty coming and crashing around the edges. If Hassan's able to bend around the edge, Patrick has to step up, and Hargrave's in his face. That's how you beat that team. And I really feel like the field conditions completely neutralized the pass rush. There was only 2 sacks in the whole game. It was Jalen Hurts rolled out to his left, stepped out of bounds for a 1-yard loss instead of throwing it away, counted as a sack. Jalen Hurts rolled out left, stepped out of bounds, -1 yard, counted as a sack. Other than that, neither team had any pass rush all day. Advantage Chiefs. It's the same field. It's advantage Chiefs. So again, that's excuses. As a fan, we want to make excuses. It's hard for me to get off of that one, but Eagles fans, we have to get off of that one. Now, there's a few key points now that we can actually talk about some of the gameplay that I thought was a huge determining factor in the game. I think some people are wrong about what plays were more significant than other plays. Just like, I don't think the Quez Watkins drop was super significant. The reason why I don't think that was significant was because that was on second down. Good teams, sometimes you miss a play, but in the next play is third down, pick up the first down and keep that drive moving. Obviously if Quez makes that play, it's huge. I think it's more like if Quez makes the play, it's a big game-changing play. The fact that he didn't make the play isn't a huge game-changing play, if that makes sense. I think there's really like 1 or 2 moments in every football game that I think kind of have a big impact in determining the outcome of the game. And the first one that comes to mind for me, it's kind of like a 2-part play. 2nd and 1. Kenny Gainwell run up the gut. He slips for a no gain. 3rd and 1. We're at like our own 45. Jalen lines up for a quarterback sneak. Isaac Sayamalu jumps off sides, brings up a 3rd and 6. And then obviously Jalen Hurts fumbles, and instead of continuing our drive to extend our 7-point lead, it's a tie ball game. And we held Patrick Mahomes to 7 points in the first half, and they went into the locker room with 14 points. Can't happen. If you hold Patrick Mahomes to 7 points in the first half, you got to make sure that they go into the locker room with 7 points in the first half. That's huge. It's significant. And the second one that kind of comes to mind for me after like kind of thinking about it and seeing what I saw on Twitter. I think it was the Eagles' second drive in the second half. We have a 4th and 2 on our own 34, 36-yard line, something like that. And Sirianni decides to punt it. Now, in the heat of the moment, we don't convert that 3rd down, and I'm like, yeah, you got to punt it here. I agreed with the decision at the time. Then you see the analytics bot after the game, and if you punt it there, you have a 40% chance of winning. if you go for it and you succeed, you have a 54% chance of winning, something along those lines. Basically, if you punt it there, you're probably going to lose. And if you go for it and make it there, you're probably going to win. So I think just as a fan, I have every right to be, angry and upset that he made the wrong decision in that moment, even though it was the same decision I would have made, because I'm not paid to make that decision. Nick's paid to make that decision. Going for it right there is the right decision in hindsight. And he's got to be able to make that decision in the heat of the moment. Only in hindsight did I find out that it was the right decision, but he's paid to know in that moment that he has to go for it. And then that punt ends up being the punt to Kadarius Toney, where he returns it down to the 5-yard line. Again, I don't think that the Kadarius Toney punt return was that significant. Like, say Sipos hits a boomer, and the Chiefs get the ball at the 30-yard line. Well, instead of a 3-play touchdown drive, Patrick Mahomes goes on a 9-play touchdown drive, and they score that drive anyway. We've seen this script before, Eagles fans. 6 years ago was the same exact game. Booing Jonathan Gannon out of town, and Jim Schwartz never has to buy a drink in this town again, because one lost and the other won. But in 2017, Tom Brady did whatever he wanted in the second half of that game, and Patrick Mahomes did whatever he wanted in the second half of the game. What it really comes down to, the reason why I think that Jalen Hurts fumble was so significant, is because the Eagles had one main formula to win football games this year. Actually, so in order to be like a really good team, and in order to have your team stand apart from the rest, your team has to do something a little bit different. So there was two things that the Eagles did a little bit different this year that really set us up in a good spot to win the Super Bowl this year. 4th and 1, or the first point, which is pretty out there and pretty noticeable, is for every single game in the NFL, in NFL history, every single team prior to this season had to get 10 yards for a first down. And we hacked the QB sneak, and we only had to get 9 yards for a first down this year. Pretty significant. Every team ever had to get 10 yards for a first down, and this Eagles team figured out we only need to get 9 yards for a first down, and then we can just QB sneak for the last yard. So, we kind of hacked the QB sneak, and that gave us a competitive advantage. And then the Chiefs won in a more standard way this year, where they won second halves of games. Sometimes they got down early, but they were dominant in the second halves of games. And the Philadelphia Eagles won in the first half of games this year. I don't remember exactly what the final numbers were, but I remember about halfway through the season, probably about week 8 or so, I think we were like plus 81 in the second quarter of football games. There was a ton of games this year where it be 7-0, 7-7, 7-3, 0-0 going into the second quarter, and like we were averaging 20 points per second quarter for the first half of the season, and you go into the halftime up 20, and then you lose the second half by 14, and you still win by 6 points. It's not hard to not lose a half of football by more than 14 points. Like, now obviously the Chiefs the Chiefs only beat us by 13 points in the second half. That's why I think that Jalen Hurts fumble was so significant, because 10 points was not enough to hold us through the second half. And I don't I don't necessarily think that's a terrible strategy. Um, but in a game like this, in which it doesn't work, it has a ripple down effect. Um, Gannon's soft defense, no explosive plays, that works when you're up 20 points on the Giants and they go Saquon Barkley 6-yard run, Saquon Barkley 4-yard run, Saquon Barkley 8-yard run, Saquon Barkley 4-yard run, Saquon Barkley 8-yard run, and they I don't remember if it was the first game or I don't think it was the Davis Webb game. It might have been the playoff game where like we were up by like 20 and the Giants had a drive where we basically let them score a touchdown because they were running the clock out on themselves. Patrick Mahomes didn't really throw the ball down the field at all. Like he kept the clock moving with short passes, and if we're up by 17, 20 points at halftime, we would have taken that. Like we would have taken Patrick Mahomes dink dunk dink dunk dink dunk. All right, run out the clock for us. There's simply not enough possessions left if you don't hit an X play. And it was actually a strategy that the Eagles used pretty well this season. So really the two things they did differently, they hacked the QB sneak and they won games in the first half instead of the second half. The Jalen Hurts fumble hurts a lot. And he played great. But it was just such a game-changing moment. I'm in a lot of pain right now. This hurts a lot. I mean, a lot of casuals, are saying, we got a bright future. We'll be back. Aaron Rodgers won a championship on his rookie contract, never went back. If you're a Colts fan, Peyton Manning won a chip. It was kind of midway through his career, but Peyton Manning only got the Colts to one championship. A lot of times, like Jalen Hurts could have a 12-year career here, maybe never be back. I would say there's a good 20% chance that Jalen Hurts gets back to a Super Bowl. Not great odds. It's really annoying because I thought this it's kind of corny, but like I'm a big a fan of the No One Likes Us and We Don't Care, because I don't care. Like I don't know, I go to another stadium and they're like, fuck man, these fucking Eagles fans and they don't like us, and I get a little bit of joy out of that. But it's the no one respects us. No one respects us, and I care. And I thought we had a very, very good opportunity to prove that we were a top-tier organization, and that we were deserving of respect. Good teams. I feel like all organizations go through ebbs and flows. They're good, then they're bad, then they're good, then they're bad. And then when the Eagles are bad, we suck. And then when the Eagles are good, when the Eagles have a good, well-run organization with Jeffrey Lurie to Howie Roseman to the three head coaches that we including Andy. You got Andy, Chip, Doug, and Sirianni, and they all have winning records, and they all went to the playoffs. That's a massive period of sustained success. And you get one. Like, I fucking hate the Cowboys, but like, they're good for 15 years and they win 5, and then they're bad for 30 years and still make the playoffs every year. It's when we're bad, we suck, and when we're good for a large stretch, we win 1. That puts us in the same tier of dysfunctional, shitty organizations like the Seahawks, or like, I don't know, I don't have a whole lot to go, but like, I thought that we had a better, more well-run organization than this. I thought we had I mean, Jeff gives all the resources, everything that these players and coaches could ask for. We have an owner that's willing to give them any resource that they ask for to win. And like, I'm just sick and tired of losing. Like, 1 in 30 years. Well, really, I mean, this goes back to before I was even in my lifetime. 1 in 30 years, and everybody else's lifetime, it's 1 in 57 years. And like, I mean, this was such a good opportunity right here. Patrick Mahomes on a busted ankle, and like, and we had the best team in the league. And like, it's just, it's ridiculous how many times we lose with the best team in the league. '03, we were the best team in the league, lost. '04, we were the best team in the league, lost. 2017, we were the best team in the league, lost our quarterback, and we thought we were going to lose. But this would have given some merit to that. This would have said that's not a fluke, that this is a high-class, high-tier, well-run organization. But now that we lost, that 2017 season just still looks like a fluke. And like, as like a Philly sports fan, like, it goes even deeper than that. You know, like, obviously the Phillies made a run this year, and if they won, that would have been cool. You know, it wouldn't have meant as much as an Eagles win. You know, I bleed green. I don't bleed red or red, white, and blue for the Sixers. You know, I follow all of them. I probably watch 60 to 70 Flyers and Sixers games a year. I probably watch half of the Phillies regular season. I probably catch about 80 Phillies games a year. So I mean, let's do the math here. In 30 years of being a Philly sports fan, 4 seasons, 4 major sports a year, that's 120 seasons. And I've seen 2 championships. How does a city this passionate about its sports just always goddamn lose? Oh my God, it might have been Acho posted something the other day. Eagles fans, don't talk about that last penalty call. That's some loser shit. Yeah. I mean, I'm over that penalty call. You know, you know, that it really didn't have a huge impact. But even with that mindset, we're still fucking losers. I'm a fucking loser. Like, 120 seasons, I got 2 championships, I got a Phillies parade in '08, and I got an Eagles parade in 2017, and that's it? 2 out of 120? That's a failing grade by a lot. And, yeah. I mean, regardless of how you feel about that play call, we're fucking losers. And I'm tired of being a fucking loser. This one hurts, man. This one hurts. And there's no guarantee we're going to be back. Go Birds.